Hello and welcome. Tonight we have a very scary true story from Brazil. More specifically, this story comes from Fernando Jurão Sampaio, who, very reasonably, requested a shout out in exchange for the story. Obrigada, Fernando. Let's get into it. I had been living in Belém for a little while when everything happened. I came from the interior, the part of Brazil that doesn't include the capital or coastal cities, and is used in a similar fashion to the phrase from the country, like in the United States. Anyway, I moved because of a job I got as a representative in an office. The salary was excellent for my standards as a young, single, dedicated person. The added benefit was that I knew I could grow a lot in that company. But then it happened. I hadn't even been with the company for 5 months when I started to be chosen by the owner for the most complicated missions. If any negotiations got stuck, I was the one called in to solve it. If someone messed up, I fixed it. With the company relying on me this much, it didn't take long for me to get a nice raise. With that extra money, I was able to fulfill a dream from college, buying a car. I remember the day well. I arrived at the firm in my new car. Most people congratulated me, but some haters were jealous and talked down about me in whispers behind my back. The haters didn't bother me really. I was graduated, earning a great wage, young, full of confidence, and it wasn't going to be those guys who would get me down. Nothing they could say would affect me. But just days later, things started to get weird. It was around Christmas that I woke up with a little discomfort in my right eye, as if there was a speck of dust or an eyelash under the lid. I stood in front of the mirror for a while after my shower, but I found nothing, and since I was already late, I left it for later. The pain wasn't that bad, so I ended up forgetting about it and having a normal day. I only felt the discomfort again at night, when I was at home. But again, I couldn't find the cause. So I went to sleep. Sooner or later it'll come out, I thought. Little did I know that I was very wrong. The next day, I woke up in excruciating pain, as if my eyes were full of sand. That small annoyance, perhaps a speck of dirt, became a tidal wave of pain. I called the office and told them I had a sty. At least that's what I thought it was. The boss wasn't happy, but he said it was cool. As I hung up, I started looking for a doctor who could attend to me as soon as possible. I got an appointment with a doctor close to home, and I went to meet her thinking my problems would be solved. But the doctor rolled my eyes almost inside out without understanding anything. Aside from my complaining, apparently my eyes had nothing wrong with them. There was no discharge, no swelling or redness, nothing. But my discomfort and pain were evident, and she didn't doubt that. I left there completely lost, without a diagnosis, but with a generous prescription for pain medication. I returned home barely able to see and tried to sleep. I don't know what time it was when I woke up because I found myself completely blind. The pain was such that involuntarily I moaned softly. Unable to see anything, I assumed it was early morning from the lack of street noise and the silence in the city. The feeling of ground glass in my eyes was terrible, then followed by a different pain, as if someone was squeezing my eyeballs. I got up, groping onto the furniture in search of my cell phone, to try to call someone, but my phone wasn't in its usual place. I looked everywhere, but nothing. My despair increased. Still searching with my hands and crying in the dark, I went to the bathroom to wash my face, and that's when I heard heavy breathing in the apartment. It was as if there was someone close to me, hidden by my blindness. Everything was too clear to be a nightmare. Still groping, I tried to understand that strange presence. I went into the kitchen and managed to get a knife from the counter. Armed, I pressed my back against the wall and asked, "Who's there? Who's there?" And in response, I heard a low, scratchy, frightening laugh. Someone was messing with me. Someone had entered my house and was screwing with me, taking advantage of my illness. Guided by the walls, I walked towards the door, always followed by the mysterious breath. I needed to get out of there urgently. And as I walked through the shadows of my own vision, I was closely followed by a heavy, broken breathing that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. Occasionally, I also heard a low laugh without being able to locate the person. With the knife raised, I tried to sound threatening. "Stop it! I don't like this joke. If you come close to me, I will put this knife in you." And so I advanced, surrounded by the mysterious being all around me, until I reached the door. But as soon as I touched the doorknob, two strong hands grabbed me by the shoulders and turned me around, and immediately something began to choke me. I tried to hit the thing with my knife, but it seemed to be nothing in front of me, just emptiness, despite the hands that were slowly killing me. I couldn't scream. I couldn't breathe. I realized that I had to do something or I would die soon. In a last desperate effort, I managed to get a hold of the doorknob and with a slam threw it open. The next moment, I was on the hall floor, still blind but alive. I started yelling for help, and soon the neighbors arrived, who lifted me up and searched my entire apartment. But there was no one there. There weren't any marks of strangulation on my neck either, despite the hand that lifted me off the ground. That night, I was helped by a kindly neighbor named Eugenia. She listened to my story in absolute silence, and yet she was the person I felt most understood by. When everyone left, and it was just the two of us, she said, "Son, someone did this to you." According to her, someone close to me that I see often had done something on purpose to disrupt my life, and they might try to do something even more serious soon. She asked to look around the house but found nothing. Not satisfied, she asked to look in my car, and off we went. As soon as she started looking, she found a small bag made of fabric, where there was some soil and something rounded and small with dirt stuck all over it. She put everything in my hands and asked, "Do you know what this is?" When I said no, she explained, "This is graveyard dirt, and this here is the eye of some small animal that someone put here to close your eyes, or something worse." I couldn't believe it, but as she made the dirt disappear down a faucet, my eyes got better. I couldn't explain it. I was healed, now knowing that my illness was not of the body, but of the spirit, of the inexplicable things that are not of this world. I discovered, in the worst way, the harm that envy can cause. "That's from someone at your work," she explained, but that was something I already suspected. That bag of graveyard dirt was most likely placed in my car, which I usually left unlocked, in the office parking lot. Next, it wasn't much of a mystery to find out who had done it. I could see who was disappointed by my sudden return to work. I didn't stay there that much longer. With Eugenia's help, I learned how to protect myself from these types of curses, but despite that, many other things happened to me. It got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore, and I resigned. No one could understand my motives, so I didn't try to explain. For me, it was better to live well, or even to live at all, than to follow in a macabre competition, one in which I didn't even compete. I preferred peace than having to live in fear of the next threat, which would certainly always come. The end, and thank you so much for listening. I hope you liked it.